All right, here we go. Question number 21 from our 0314 homework number 4 in MyLab Math. And the instructions say find the domain of the function g of x equals 7 over the quantity 6x minus x squared. It says to write both set builder notation and interval notation for the answer. All right, so the first thing that we need to notice is that our function has a fraction with variables on the denominator. So if we were to identify what kind of function this is a rational function. And I just remember that rational means fractional. You've got a fraction with variables in the denominator. And I guess the main thing you need to know is when you're looking for the domain, a rational function has a restriction, okay? We know that the denominator of a fraction cannot be 0 because division by 0 is undefined. So if we're going to find the domain, which are the values that x can be, the first thing we might want to figure out is what can x not be. So we're going to take the denominator and we're going to say that cannot be 0. And then if I solve this inequality for x, I will know what x can't be, and therefore I will know what x can be. All right, so we have a quadratic inequality, and there are only two terms, so I'm going to solve this by factoring out an x. If I take out an x from each term, that's going to leave me 6 minus x. And now I know, since this is multiplied, I can set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Okay, so for the first factor, x cannot be 0. That is one of the restrictions. And 6 minus x cannot be 0. So if I move the negative x over, that's going to say 6 cannot be x. And then if I flip that around, that's going to say x cannot be 6. So at this point, I now know that x cannot be 0 and it cannot be 6. That means that x can be any other real number other than 0 and 6, okay? So if we want to write that in set notation, we would say the domain, let's make some good notes here. The domain is the set of all x such that x cannot be 0 and 6. Okay, this is the way the answer would look in set notation. And if I come over here to the answer choices, the domain is the set of all x such that x is a real number and x is equal to, nope, it's got to be x is not equal to, so that's going to be B. X is not equal to what? 0, comma 6. 0 and 6. There we go. Now, interval notation. Interval notation is kind of like saying the interval on the number line where x is defined, like the values that x can be on the number line. So if I know that x cannot be 0 or 6, let's do this in red. I know that x can be anything to minus infinity up to 0, but not including 0. So I'm going to use a parenthesis there that says up to, but not including 0. I'm then going to skip over 0 and keep going until I get to 6. Think about this. We're scanning along the number line from the negatives to the positives, okay? So from negative infinity up to 0, skip over 0 and keep going to 6, not including 6, and then we're going to skip to the other side of 6 and keep going to infinity. And so this is the way that the domain would look if I write it in interval notation. And that looks a lot more involved than set notation. So let's see if I lied to you. Let's see here. Negative infinity. Here's our infinity, comma to 0. And then the union symbol. Remember, the U is the glue that sticks the pieces together. 0 to 6. And then from 6 to infinity. And I think it is also important to point out that when you're doing the intervals here, that you have to do it in order from left to right. So that's why the 0 comes first, and then the 6. That's in order from left to right. Bam! So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put those in the comment section below, or you can text me. And thanks for watching.